where news comes first. This is ABC-7 Extra.
Good evening, I'm Saul Saenz, and this is ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition. Thank you for letting us be a part of your Sunday evening to talk about the new laws that will impact you, your family, and loved ones. A slew of laws, 666 to be exact, took effect at the start of September, two which made national headlines. One of those is called the Permitless Carry or Constitutional Carry Law. Under this law, any Texan 21 years or older will be able to carry handguns without training or license. It eliminates the requirements for Texas residents to obtain a license to carry handguns if they are not prohibited by federal law from carrying a gun. And reversing a Texas law passed in 1935, Texans can now buy liquor on Sundays after 10 a.m. The new law allows grocery stores and convenience stores to sell beer and wine starting at 10 a.m. on Sundays instead of having to wait until noon. During the rest of the week, stores can sell beer and wine from 7 a.m. until midnight, Monday through Friday, and from 7 a.m. Saturday until 1 a.m. Sunday. However, you still will not be able to buy liquor on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Day before 10 a.m. But perhaps the most controversial law that raised eyebrows and caught the attention of the rest of the nation is the heartbeat law, otherwise known as SB-8. As the law stands, abortion providers here in Texas are not able to perform any abortion procedure once a fetal heartbeat is detected. That usually comes around the 6-week mark, which opponents say is when many women may not even know they're pregnant. There are no exceptions for rape or incest, but there are some medical emergencies. The heartbeat law is so controversial, it raised concerns from 1600 Avenue to Main Street across America, so much so President Joe Biden weighed in when the Supreme Court justices ruled 5-4, leaving the Texas abortion plan in place, a ruling which contradicts Roe versus Wade. ABC-7's Rachel Phillip reports for Sunday Extra.
Our Creator endowed us with the right to life.
Our focus and the president's focus is to reiterate our deep commitment to the constitutional right, of course, established by Roe v. Wade nearly 5 decades ago.
The president in a statement Wednesday went on to say the Texas law will significantly impair women's access to the health care they need, particularly for communities of color and individuals with low incomes. Those differing opinions aren't just at the state and national level, but also right here in El Paso.
None of this should be happening. It is so inhumane and so unfathomable that in 2021, the state of Texas wants to force people to be pregnant against their will.
I don't believe it's a right issue. It's just like I'm a female, I could be carrying another female, and that female has the same rights that I have. So it is not an issue of rights, it's an issue of life.
The law applies to those who are raped, something opponents have a big issue with. But proponents say it comes down to protecting life.
Obviously, that is not anything that we wish upon anyone. And those are circumstances that are terrible. But we are absolutely convinced that this is an issue of life.
Because of the new law in Texas, proponents of the law say many people will still get abortions, but they'll have to cross state lines to do so.
In El Paso, we know very well, right? The limitations and the lack of access. We know that it's difficult for people, and we often have to travel in some direction to access services that may not be easy to access here. It's communities like ours that will be hit hardest.
According to a study by the Guttmacher Institute, a research and policy organization focused on global reproductive health and rights. Now that this law is in place, the average one-way driving distance to an abortion clinic will increase from 12 miles to 248 miles. That's 20 times the distance. Here in El Paso, that distance to the closest clinic is only about 8 miles from the west side, and you have to cross the New Mexico state line into Santa Teresa. The Southwest Coalition for Life told me they plan on taking their mobile unit to the clinic in Santa Teresa to try and stop Texas women from getting an abortion and instead empower them to choose life. In a recent study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, at the start of the pandemic when Governor Greg Abbott ordered all non-necessary medical procedures postponed, including abortions, the number of Texas residents who went out of state for an abortion leapt from 157 in February to 947 in April.
And joining us to talk about these new laws is State Representative Claudia Ordaz Perez. Ms. Perez represents District 76. Also, Mark Dunham. Mr. Dunham is the head of the State Republican Executive Committee for District 29, Welcome to both of you. I'll start with you, Representative Ordaz Perez. This heartbeat bill has sent shockwaves across the country. Your thoughts?
You know, being on the House floor when we were talking about this, you know, this is just one of those issues. It's incredibly partisan, whether you're pro-life or whether you're pro-reproductive rights. No matter how many ways you talk about this issue, there's little to nothing you can do if you're pro-life or you're pro-reproductive rights. It's one of those issues that is very, very emotional. So again, this is a very partisan issue. A lot of debate centered around this bill. But my perspective on this piece of legislation is just, I want to talk a little bit about just the law itself and just how much of a dangerous precedence it's setting for not only the state, but this country. You know, this bill doesn't enforce, this law won't enforce anything. There's no enforcement, there's no criminal penalties. It's literally just focusing on citizen vigilantes. So say, for example, Sal or one of your viewers wanted to gave someone a ride to a clinic. That you could be penalized for that. That would now be considered a crime. And you don't even have to have a connection with this person. And so there's been a number of articles written about this. It's going to be a nightmare for the state of Texas. It truly, truly is. And again, it's just that precedent that we're setting. I mean, what if California, for example, wanted to start deputizing their citizens to take action against hate crime, or New York against gun owners? I mean, this is going to be a nightmare in the courts. There's nothing going on right now within the courts because there hasn't been a civil case yet. But once that happens, this is certainly going to be a nightmare.
Let me get your reaction, Mr. Dunham.
Well, my personal perspective on this is I wouldn't begin to try to tell a woman what to do with her body or not. But what I look at it from the perspective of the unborn fetus. Once a heartbeat is detected, that's a life. And I know Ms. Perez, as an example, was all about rights for animals, making El Paso a no-kill city. And I think being with that perspective, I certainly think our citizens deserve the same.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. You're watching ABC-7 Extra. When we come back, we'll talk about the permitless carry bill, which is now law. It is a constitutional right or a danger to society for anyone over 21 to carry a gun. You're watching ABC-7 Extra, where news comes first.
Welcome to Whataburger. Customization is what we've always done. We have mustard, mayo, ketchup. It's all up to you.
When you customize your own burger, you can put your personality in it.
Manny's ketchup, no cheese. This is my Whataburger.
We customize orders 24 hours a day.
Everybody wants it just like they like it. When you can make it your own, that always enhances that experience for you.
They're just happy to do whatever makes you happy.
However you want it, I got you. Here at Whataburger, we make it just like you like it, whenever you like it.
With a Honda in your garage, every summer adventure leads to another. Get an incredible summer offer on a new Honda, only at the Honda Summer Sales Event.
Ready, set, go. The unknown is not empty. It's a storm that crashes and consumes, replacing thought with worry. But one thing can calm uncertainty: an answer. Uncovered through exploration, teamwork, and innovation. An answer that leads to even more answers. Mayo Clinic. You know where to go.
Looking to shift into an electric vehicle? El Paso Electric can help. We're your resource to learn about electric vehicles, special charging rates, and potential incentives. Because driving green can actually save you some green with our Go EV Savings Program. It's your connection to learn about great discounts on electric vehicles available at local dealerships. So if you're ready to buy electric, visit epelectric.com/EV and get started today.
Yet another law which captured the attention of the nation is a permitless carry or constitutional carry. As of this week, any Texan over the age of 21 can carry a gun without a permit or training. ABC-7 spoke to a UTEP professor to see what impact permitless carry could have on the borderland.
If we keep track of the trends that's going on in the past, then gun violence is probably not going to go up in El Paso. Probably, we don't know yet because of again, this just barely began. But if history tells us what happens in the future, then El Paso's probably going to be okay as far as gun violence.
And welcome back to ABC-7 Extra. I also want to welcome back State Representative Claudia Ordaz Perez. Ms. Ordaz Perez represents District 76. Also, Mark Dunham. Mr. Dunham is the head of the State Republican Executive Committee for District 29. Ms. Ordaz Perez, what's your opinion on the UTEP professor's opinion about the impactless carry, that it may not have an impact on the borderland? What are your thoughts?
This was one of the more emotional topics that we dealt with this session because of just the horrific event that happened in our community. And we had law enforcement officials, we had bishop sites and religious leaders that were at our Capitol, and these are wee hours of the night, really advocating to ensure that we are reasonable with these gun laws. I'm a gun owner myself. And it was a minimal, required minimal requirements for training to get that license. And I think for the most part, the vast majority of gun owners believe in sensible gun laws, right? Whether it's a background check. I think those types of initiatives would truly help in the state of Texas, especially what happened here in El Paso. And so it was a tough, disheartening, long hours dealing with this piece of legislation, and I'm disappointed, with the outcome. And it's a little infuriating. I was just actually talking to a DPS officer yesterday. And I was asking him, when you walk into the state capitol, you see, all of the metal detectors, and I'm like, oh, okay, are these going to go away because of this new bill that passed? And they're like, oh, no, they're not technically going to go away. We're still going to, check for licenses, but if you don't have one, we're going to do a quick background check. And that just kind of floored me because if you go to a park, Saul, if you go to a park and you see someone who doesn't, who's carrying, there's nothing the police officers can do. But in your state capitol, oh, you better believe we're going to have some form of background check. So I just think the hypocrisy is just real, and it's just unfortunate. But in the future, we're going to continue to fight for at least some reasonable gun laws in the state.
Mr. Dunham, your thoughts on the fact that a Texan now, and 21 years or older, can now carry a gun without a permit or without any training?
Well, as an Army officer, a retired Army officer, I think training with a weapon is important, but I don't think that it has to be mandated through the state by law. A father can teach his son just as well on how to sit there and fire a weapon and maintain a weapon. Also, I would sit there and point out, because of the tragic event that happened here in the city of El Paso, one has to sit there and think, what if those folks who were in that particular store during that event had weapons, that they could sit there and taking care of that individual right away.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. At Sunday, let's talk about the new alcohol availability law. Texans can now buy beer and wine after 10 a.m., but not hard liquor. Mr. Dunham, long overdue, or should we have kept the old law passed in 1935, which dictated no liquor sales after a certain hour?
Well, I didn't see that this was one of the highest priorities that went through this session as far as changing the hours is concerned. I didn't have any strong feelings one way or the other on this issue.
Okay, Ms. Ordaz Perez, your thoughts?
All of this really resorted from the pandemic. You had a lot of these small businesses, not only here in El Paso, but across the state of Texas, that were ravaged because of the pandemic, and their sales dropped. It was a really, and they're still reeling from the effects of the pandemic because we're still living through it. So we focused on really trying to help these small businesses with alcohol to go, For one, that really kept a lot of our small businesses afloat during the pandemic. And so now we made that into law. You know, since the pandemic started, 15% of our small businesses have shut down permanently because of that. So any sort of relief that we can provide for small businesses, like alcohol to go, like changing some of these hours to help keep our small businesses afloat, is something I'm certainly going to support.
From spirits to marijuana, medicinal marijuana will now be available to more patients under medicinal expansion law, most especially those who suffer from PTSD among veterans, epilepsy, autism, and terminal cancer. Ms. Ordaz Perez, long overdue, or should the state go further?
You know, this is a conversation that this isn't going to be the end of these conversations. You know, when we're talking about, when you're weighing these issues, you always try to look at the costs. And I think at this point, the costs associated with keeping marijuana illegal is far outweighing the benefits of keeping it illegal. And so I think during this session, we focus on one class, folks with PTSD. A lot of veterans in our community, you know, certainly benefit from this type of care. So I don't think it'll be the end of these discussions, especially when we know all of the issues that surround marijuana, the black market, incarceration rates. The list really goes on and on as far as ensuring that we're going to continue to have these conversations to start ensuring that those benefits are going to outweigh once we'll see if we do legalize that in the future.
Mr. Dunham?
My feelings on the matter are I'm not a doctor. I'm not, and nor do I pretend to be one on television. My feelings is if the medical profession decides that they think that medical marijuana is beneficial to the patients, then who am I to sit there and say otherwise?
Okay, we're going to take another quick break. You're watching ABC-7 Extra. When we return, we'll talk about a topic near and dear to Representative Ordaz Perez, a voting rights bill which also made national news. Opponents of the bill, specifically Democrats, say it will deprive many from casting a ballot. We'll be back.
When Laura vowed to love me, in sickness and in health, she wasn't thinking about cancer. But here we are. I'm just grateful my team of experts at Texas Oncology is close by, fighting for me, so I can still start my mornings right here. Hey, I need all of this treatment I can get. I'll see y'all tonight.
Friday Night Lights are back, El Paso, and Casa Buick GMC is celebrating with hard-hitting offers on everything.
You can score a great price on a new Buick Enclave or the latest GMC Sierra.
Plus, it's easier than ever to trade up with our game-changing trade-in value.
Get $2,500 off MSRP on a GMC Sierra 1500. Get the home field advantage at Casa Buick GMC.
Home of the nice guys. Yeah!
No matter what your business is, you want it to be profitable. As the expert on what your company needs to succeed, take marketing into your own hands and create your own success. Reach your business goals by taking advantage of ProLink, our premium business page option at Borderland Local Links. Only $99 for the entire year. Customers are looking for you. Make sure you connect with them through Borderland Local Links. Simplify your marketing plan with a premium business page at borderlandlocallinks.com.
At Conn's Home Plus, great deals happen every day. We've got the top brands to furnish every room in your home. Plus, with our personalized approach to financing, you can get low payments over time. See what's new during our 5-day Labor Day sale happening this weekend only at Conn's Home Plus.
Lorenzo's Italian restaurant in Las Cruces serves authentic pasta, pizza, steak, and seafood for lunch or dinner, and we cater too. Find us at 1753 East University Avenue, west of Highway 25, across from the Pan Am Center. Call or visit us on Facebook right now.
Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition. When Governor Greg Abbott called a special session to tackle a voting rights bill, state Democrats, which included Representative Claudia Ordaz Perez, left Austin to break quorum and prevent the vote from happening. Enough Democrats returned and the bill passed. Welcome back to Representative Claudia Ordaz Perez and Mark Dunham. Mr. Ordaz Perez, the bill eventually passed. Your thoughts?
You know, that was a highly, as you mentioned, a very highly contentious issue. And for me, this was an issue that hurt communities like El Paso. And I'm just going to talk about one aspect of this terrible bill. When we talk about mail-in ballots, you know, you all reported on how bad COVID really hurt the El Paso community. And so we, local governments really stepped up to ensure that they were going to give voters more opportunities to vote safely, to vote securely, from the comfort of their own home. And now that's under attack. For example, when we talk about mail-in ballots, 28,000 voters submitted a ballot during this last election, and these are El Paso voters. And now they're going to be just incredibly cumbersome. There's more restrictions towards that. And when we talk about this bill and seeking advice from the experts, elections administrators were not even at the table. And so voters, just so you're aware, you know how you get that daily, or you get that reminder that you need to reapply for your mail-in ballot. That's not going to happen. You know, these are just time and time again, these are just more and more steps to really take away our freedoms to vote. You know, when you look at mail-in ballots, for example, they tend to lean more towards voting for Democrats. And Republicans, unfortunately, did not like that. They didn't like the trend, so they're going to do what they can to ensure that is slowly just taken back and stripped away. So it's really unfortunate. We're hopeful Congress will take action. That's why we're at the steps of our nation's capital, knocking on Biden's door. Like, we need your all's assistance. We need your help to ensure that we're going to protect our freedom to vote, not only in El Paso, but across the state and across the nation.
Mr. Dunham, is it an issue about Republicans versus Democrats, and that fewer Democrats are going to vote and more Republicans are going to vote by virtue of this bill?
No, I think it's more goes along the lines of one person, one vote. That actually making sure that it are citizens that are actually voting. I worked very closely with Miss Lisa Wise there in the elections office for the county for several years as a Republican representative up there, actually being the one who helps the signature verification ballot board and central count. So I've seen the whole process, and there are hiccups in the process. There are many folks who are on the rolls currently that are either dead or no longer living at that residence.
Speaking of which, the Republicans argued that this would prevent fraud, but was there any widespread fraud in Texas?
Well,
or El Paso, specifically bringing it down to our level?
Well, as a matter of fact, some irregularities were pointed out, as I discussed with Miss Lisa Wise at the election, in the last election. Many of the election judges did not link their computers to back to the server to register that an individual had actually voted at their location, which all during early voting. This wasn't discovered till the end of early voting by the Republicans, because they noticed that they had already voted, but they were still on some of these boxes showing up as that they had not voted yet.
I know Ms. Wise never ever brought these issues up.
As I understand it, Ms. Wise has brought it up. She's asked for help from the county commissioner's court to increase the number of folks, because she's drastically undermanned in that office, particularly at the time of the elections. In fact, there was a stack taller than myself of requests for ballots that came back showing the person was either dead or not even at that address anymore, and they were returned by the post office. Those folks need to be removed from.
I'm going to give Mr. Vasquez an opportunity to respond to that.
Through all of these investigations and allegations, there hasn't been a single case in the state of Texas that's been proven as far as voter fraud in this last go around. So Ms. Wise has a number of resources and people to help through seeing through those allegations. But as far as right now, it's been deemed that this election was secure, quote unquote secure.
Mr. Denham, Republicans objected, saying privacy cannot be guaranteed when someone is inside a vehicle with other people. We know we had multiple people who did go to vote, mostly because obviously the pandemic. Does the convenience, does it outweigh the right to privacy?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Yeah, we know that there were several people. Republicans argued that there were way too many people in a car when they had drive-through voting, and Republicans argued that there was a possibility for fraud in an instance when there's too many people inside a car. Do you believe that?
Well, I mean, when we go through the process of being an election judge, there are certain things that you're not allowed to do undue influence. You can't coerce them to vote one way or the other for obvious reasons. You just explain to them, this is what you're voting for, these are the candidates, and you allow the individual to make that choice. If you can have undue influence in a vehicle if there's too many people that are providing that individual, coercing them to vote one way or another.
In the 20 seconds that I have left, you want to respond to that, Ms. Ordaz-Perez?
Again, these measures are really implemented because of COVID and really helping voters vote safely and vote securely. This was one way, one innovative way of doing that. At the end of the day, you're still required to show an ID. You still have to go through that entire process. We're just trying to make this simpler, safer for people to vote.
Okay. Representative Claudia Ordaz-Perez, Mr. Mark Denham, thank you so much for taking time from your Sunday evening to explain all this to us. And thank you for joining us. I'm Saul Saenz, and this has been ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition. Good night y buenas noches.